All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Anton on One podcast. I'm gonna be doing the giveaway. So I did talk about this a few weeks ago. We were doing market research. We asked you guys to fill up a survey and help the podcast improve. So again, thank you very much. I keep saying it because I really do mean it. I'm very grateful for your help, for your time. Let me show you guys what the F is up. All right, so we got it here. Albero. We got the box here, beautifully crafted. Breathing life into living. So thank you to Albero. Shout out to Lanstan, Isabel Lim. Thank you very much. Someone is going to be walking away. Well, you're not actually walking away. Somebody will be receiving through courier. Something beautiful. Let's do a quick unboxing. Okay, I want this to be a surprise to the winner, but I also want people to see the giveaway because I'm claiming it. In the future, we are going to have more giveaways, more freebies coming up soon, hopefully. All right, so what do we have? I unboxed it. I don't know how these unboxers do it. So we have the Albero tote bag. Tote cute. Tote bag. Very environmental. And the, okay yung tela niya. Okay yung, mukha siyang okay yung quality. So I should have started with this one. You have the story over here. You have the description of what you're getting, where you can check out more of their stuff. And we got another nice bag. I think it's something you can put some toiletries in or your shoes or... There you go. Albero. Woo! Look at that. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. I think it's like a dolphin. It's a dolphin. What you can do here is you can... It's a phone stand, so you can put your phone there. You can put your ball pens and your pencils in there. And even if you don't use it for any of those stuff, it's nice. It's a nice decor. You can put it on your table side. I actually do have one of my own. So if you are walking away with a dolphin, I keep saying walking away. You're not actually walking away. You're receiving a dolphin. This is mine. I got this in college. This is an elephant. Look at that cutie. All right, so it's time to see who's going to be the winner, the giveaway. We have all of the emails here. 25 respondents. Let me just paste it over here. So we have all the names here. Oops. All right, this is commentpicker.com, by the way. Shout out to Sam for telling me about this site. Okay, so I didn't choose this in any way whatsoever. Let's see. From the 25 names, congratulations to Juancho Barreto at obf.ateneo.edu. Congratulations to you, sir, using that Ateneo website. I'll be emailing you and getting in touch with you how we can send it over. So congratulations very much. Congratulations to you, Juancho Barreto at obf.ateneo.edu. So there you go. Congratulations. I hope you enjoy it. I do hope to have more giveaways and freebies in the future. Just as my way of saying thank you to supporting the show and for taking time to listen to my thoughts and allow my brain to enter yours. Alright, so giveaway announcement is done. Time to move on to the episode. And this conversation is special. Really one of the most interesting people I have ever met. He is part of the Forbes 30 under 30 list for arts in Asia. That is no simple feat. I always used to just wonder, what does it take to be someone that goes on one of those lists? And he said this in a post that he doesn't know how he got nominated. I feel like he's one of those... This guy, Gab, is one of the people that just does his work and for doing it. Like, he does it because he wants to do it. He's going to talk about his story. He's going to talk about, like, things that I would be scared of doing that those seem pretty life-threatening to me. His experience with getting death threats. His experience with connecting to nature. A lot of things that a 24-year-old like myself, wow, like, I'm still young and I know I still have so much to learn. This is one of the conversations where I learned a lot. So enjoy this one. All right, Gab, you have to help me with this one. Okay, so I've been researching and trying to figure out what is the best way to describe Gab for those who haven't heard of you. So I saw a visual storyteller, conservation photographer, co-founder of Youth Engaged in Wetlands, a National Geographic explorer. I know you've given a TED Talk, and recently, congratulations, by the way, you're named to be part of the Forbes 30 under 30 list for the arts in Asia. And you also won first place in the Global Youth Wetlands Youth Photo Contest in 2017. Is there anything that I missed? Is there like a way, if someone asks you, Gab, what do you do? How do you answer them?
Usually I say like I'm a conservation photographer or really like National Geographic explorer because most
Mhm.
of the work that I really do is more on, nature conservation. So protecting like wildlife, saving protected areas, saving species and all that stuff.
Uh-huh. So, would you describe yourself as like, hindi naman masyado sakto, no? But would you describe yourself as like Steve Irwin of the Philippines?
No,
Kasi it's
no, I
very
don't think.
nature, eh.
Yeah, usually because like Steve Irwin's the one in front of the camera, and he's usually
Okay.
the one like reporting on wildlife. I guess I would be the one like taking the video of Steve
Okay.
Irwin or something like that.
Gets.
Yeah,
But in the same sense, you're still like the things from the articles that I've read and the news I've heard and seen of you, you love to tell stories through your photos. You love
yeah,
to share these things in the nature. And as in while I was reading it, I'm okay, for those who don't know, Gab and I were classmates in prep in grade one. So we were like 5 years old, 6 years old. It really
that was
shows
so
that
long ago.
you don't know what's gonna happen to people, diba? We studied in the same schools. You studied in Ateneo also for college, right?
No, no, I'm studying in UP,
Sorry, UP.
UP Diliman,
Ateneo High School also.
Ateneo High
And
School.
then
Yeah,
what did you take up in UP?
civil engineering. So specializing on environmental engineering.
Okay. And is that how does it apply? Sorry, when you say civil engineering, I really don't know what civil engineering means. When you say engineer, I think of like engineers, like you work on cars or something like that. How is
Yeah.
it relate? How do you do civil engineering for the environment?
Yeah, because like there's a lot of fields in civil engineering. So what I'm working on is environmental and energy engineering. So it's more related to like environmental as well, like more applied sciences on how, like, what can I do to protect, for example,
Uh-huh.
water resources or protect a lake or a river, or like how can I develop renewable energy for climate change. So it's still in a way related to the work that I do because I
Yeah.
get a lot of background with the sciences. It's like more for the arts and visual storytelling, right?
Yeah. So what you studied, your background is like the science, it's the technical aspect of it. But then your main job would be photography, right?
Yeah, I consider myself, I guess, as a professional photographer. So I do
Uh-huh.
more, storytelling, really putting out videos, documentaries, or photographs across different platforms.
Yeah. Can you tell me what a day like I could only imagine, okay, if you have a 9 to 5 job in the office, it kind of makes sense. You clock in, you
Yeah.
do the hours, you have your meetings, you have your presentations, diba? That's it. But for someone like you, and I do want to get into the stories of all these crazy adventures you've had. How do you describe a normal day in your work life? Or if there's even such a thing?
Well, there's not really like a normal day or something like that. Usually it's all filled with so many things. So
Uh-huh.
before the pandemic, really, like, because there's a lot of travel requirements, lockdowns really stopped a lot of the work that I do.
Yeah.
But usually I'd be like, okay, I have a flight to catch. Today, I would be boarding the plane and going to a different location. So usually sometimes around the Philippines or other countries like Japan or like the US. Then I'll be doing some field work, filming animals, going to the forest with my partners, working with the team. Or usually if I'm doing like a journalistic type of story, I do it alone. So it
Mm.
really depends on a lot. There's a lot of things that happen
Yeah.
depending on what project I'm working on.
Uh-huh.
But usually it really, it's all about like, okay, I'm going to be living in this place or like living in a forest or living in a mountain for a couple of weeks. Then I'll be traveling back to the next place, then going to the next place. So
Yeah.
it's really filled with traveling. So now it's like total, 180-degree,
Uh-huh.
turn.
You're just at home. Oh,
Yeah,
what I'm
just
how I'm
about.
understanding this is um you adapt to the different types of work that you're gonna do. But the constant thing I would say is nature. Like it's really about you're working for nature. You're working to talk about nature and ultimately save it and help it improve it. You're still very young. We're still very young. You've already done so much. Are you still in the sort of like general finding what it is you really want to focus on, or is that what you want to do talaga? Kasi you've had work on Tamaraos, you've had work with the wetlands, like there's a lot of you've hiked a lot of mountains, like I'm not sure because if you say nature, diba? There's so many types of nature. Is there one that you like to focus on, or is it really just generally, whatever Mother Nature needs of me, I'll be there.
Usually it's really focused on the advocacy that I'm working on. So more on wetlands. So I go to
Mm-hmm.
marshes, swamps, where like Shrek lives and all those places. Like
Okay, thank you for
that's
explaining
really like
it to
the
me.
general description of what
Uh-huh.
wetlands are. Shrek has been a big inspiration as well for that. But
Wait,
yeah,
sorry, wait a minute. What do you
yeah.
mean Shrek has been an inspiration? This is the first time I've ever heard something like this. He is inspired, as in, this is not a joke?
No, this is not a joke. Like the movie itself, like
Uh-huh.
people think like the swamp or like wetlands are ugly things or
Oo,
like dirty,
dirty.
muddy. But it's really magical place where like hundreds of birds come flying in, or like you have indigenous communities that live on the rivers and lakes and they thrive there. So it's really such a magical place. It's like
Uh-huh.
a fantasy world that is yet to be shown. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm really kind of focusing on, like showing how magical these places are and how the effects of climate change affecting these places as well, or like the environmental issues that we're facing.
Yeah. And you mentioned the indigenous communities. I want to just jump into this. You got to live with the Manobo tribe. When I read that, my first reaction was, what the fuck? Like, how do you, like, all I know about the tribes are, those are our sections. There's a grade in Ateneo where your section is, I was Ati, for Ati. Like, that's the only thing I know about it. How, how? Like, where can you, like, talk me through the process of, like, when did you first think, like, I'm gonna live with these indigenous people? How did you plan it? Like, is there a Facebook group? Like, what? Please tell me. Please enlighten me how this whole thing happened.
Usually it depends on the work that or the connections that you really with. So I have a really good friend who's like one of the indigenous leaders of the
Okay.
Manobo tribe. So prior to that, I had some opportunities to work with them before even documenting them. So I really built this trust and relationship with them, because I don't want to be parachuting into that place and like say, okay, I'm from Manila, or like I'm
Yeah.
from
I'm from the
this
city.
other world. I'm from the
I'm gonna
city, and
save you. Parang
yeah,
ganon.
and something like that kind of colonial mentality. So I
Uh-huh.
didn't want that. I really want that. I wanted it to come from these tribes, and they said, okay, you can live with us. So I lived with
Uh-huh.
them for like about 2 weeks, and it's only up until like after a few weeks where I really uh, brought out my camera and started documenting
Oh.
their lives. So I really had to embody or like really immerse myself with them and really respect their culture and heritage in a way that I'm not just there to shoot photos and run out. I wanted to hear their stories. So there was
Yeah.
a lot of interviews, a lot of times where I would, eating the same meals as them, sharing the same meals with them, and just really listening to them.
Yeah. Was this for free? I mean, did you have to pay for lodging and your food, and or did they make you like hunt, or how did the day naman there go?
There's actually like a project. So it's a project with National Geographic that I work with. So
Mm-hmm.
they really fund the expedition in itself. In a way, they
Okay.
give me funding for lodging, funding for food, airplanes, all that stuff. Living with them, it's basically simple life. So whatever they fish from the marsh, because there's no sari-sari stores there, or
Yeah.
there's no groceries where you
Well,
can
yeah, walang
buy.
fast food dun.
So you really have to live with them. And okay, they're gonna be fishing, then I'm gonna eat the fish that they serve.
Did you like the food?
Yeah, it's kind of exotic in a way because it's like kind of wild fish.
Okay. And you know it's
They
not.
were
You know it's organic.
yeah, it's really organic that it came
Uh-huh.
from straight from the marsh. You really see them fishing the fish out of the lake, and they
Yeah.
would bring it on their canoes or the barotos.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really fresh.
Would you remember what would be like the biggest challenge of that whole living experience?
I think the biggest challenge really isn't much about like living with them because I've been used a lot to working on remote places, so having just your stove, your all your food with you, all
Mm-hmm.
the luggage that you carry. But it's really the challenge was really getting that story. I think having that it gives justice to the community, that it's
Okay.
well represented, and the stories that I put out are real stories by the people themselves.
It was here. It was in your experience living with the Manobo tribe. That's where you got to picture the Mindanao Hornbill. Am I correct?
Yeah, one of the places.
And then you waited you waited for 2 days to take a picture of this bird. How did you know where to like wait, where to situate yourself? Because I don't think naman there's a parang landing spot na more often than not the bird that you're looking for that just shows up every blue moon or something, every full moon is gonna show up here.
So it took a lot of preparation. I had to research where the places have high concentration of biodiversity, or like places with high concentration of animals or like wildlife.
Okay.
So like usually these are the places that are pristine, doesn't have humans bothering them, disturbing them. And I stayed there in that forest. They call it the Kaimpugan peatland forest,
Mhm.
peat swamp forest. I waited there for 2 days, and just my our tent and just living in that place. So it was like surrounded by these huge, big, um, mystical looking trees,
Wow.
and there's like fog coming in, and it's really swampy. There's a lot of mud, a lot of peat, and I just waited there for like 2 days, hoping that I could, see and get a glimpse of one. Then
Yeah.
luckily I had that moment. I think that was around, 8 a.m. in the morning after waiting for the second day. Then it just perched on the tree. It was a couple, actually, two birds, two Mindanao Hornbills. One was white and one was black, and they perched on that tree perfectly. And I had that
Yeah.
like 5 seconds to shoot them before they flew
Oh my
away.
gosh. What a magical story. Oh, did you have a time limit? Did you have a time limit like, okay, if it reaches 5 days, bounce na ako?
Yeah, usually there was a time actually when we were also documenting, trying to film like saltwater crocodiles. So if you know Lolong,
Yeah.
that's the largest saltwater crocodile recorded in the Philippines, and
Yeah.
like Guinness Book World Records. And we were living on this like tree house for about 5 days, day in and day night, so that there's no disturbance in the water, no disturbance in the place. And there, we were just sitting there for 5 days, but
Wait,
we
sorry,
didn't
in a
get.
tree house?
Yeah, we had like a makeshift tree house.
And the CR was
Um,
there?
yeah, the Sierra was there. Like we just cut a hole in the ground, or like we had like, and you
Tas
just
bahala na.
ski, and yeah, bahala
Gravity gonna do it.
na.
You
Gravity
didn't take
can
a
do
bath
it.
also?
Yeah, no bats, no
Oh,
bats for 5 days.
how's the temperature there though? Is it, because when I think of Philippines, I think mainit. Is it, kasi yeah, I mean, that's like forest nature. Masarap
Yeah,
ba? Hindi mo kailangang maligo?
in the at the day it's really humid. It's really,
Okay.
really hot. But at night it really gets cold. Like all the fog comes going in the forest,
Uh-huh.
and it's really cold. So, and parang taking a bath is not an option at all, at least expeditions.
Ooh.
There are times like even once, parang 10 days we were hiking in India and no
Oh, you've
bath.
been to
But I mean,
India? Okay.
yeah, but it's pretty cold, but I know, but
Uh-huh.
like it's the Himalayas, so like ice mountains. So you don't need to take a bath. But 10 days, right? You don't know how
Mm,
you smell, and you just get your wet wipes. And that's how
yeah.
you take a bath.
Oh, is are those things that I don't know, do you have training for those type of things? I mean, or is it parang tiis lang siya? Na parang while you're there, tiis lang? Or I've never experienced that. Or is there, do you reach like a point? Like, for example, I hear that people who run a marathon, there's this wall. So I don't know what kilometer mark that is, but after they break that wall, they're like in this state of euphoria. It's like it's like a magical experience. When it comes to these expeditions you have, and then you go 10 days, like you're not just about not taking a bath, that you're just really immersed in nature and everything. Does something just click, and then like you really just feel like you're one with Earth?
Yeah, yeah, that's really the feeling, especially in hiking these mountains, like
Mhm.
long treks, sometimes 10 to 15 days. That's really the feeling. Like after the third day, after the fifth day, you really don't, it doesn't even come across your mind. Like you're just lucky to be in this place. And you're like, wow, seeing all these amazing landscapes,
Yeah.
like alien worlds and things that you'd only see on TV or see on the magazine. But you're there and you're like, have a camera with you to take photos of that. So it's
Do you
really a
ever
magical moment.
do you ever check social media or text or anything while you're up there?
No, there's no sadly, like on some of these places, there's really no internet. But there are times when you get like satellite internet. So they have this thing called like satellite satnet, where
Uh-huh.
literally anywhere, even if you're like 4,000 meters above sea level, there's some internet LTE you could get through the satellite
Wow.
phones, and you get to connect at least. But you don't, it's very expensive.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like each each, I think, MB would cost, I don't know, $50 or so.
Wait, so what do you do though? Like, let's say you're in that middle of nowhere, no internet, whatever. You have the satnet, and then you have like 5 MB to use. What do you do? You go check Instagram or something? What do you do?
Yeah, usually I just check my emails, but but like usually, I mean, there's really no time to even do those things. It's
Uh
only
huh.
for emergencies, and you have to
Yeah.
save it because something happens, someone gets lost, someone dies, or someone needs
Yeah.
to be brought down. It's really important to have that.
Okay. I mentioned some of the challenges, which is waiting for days, learning to live with the tribe, not taking a bath for so long. But another reality that you face is that you can die. Like it's not even something that you should parang fight against it. Kasi these reasons, the causes of your potential, oh my gosh, knock on wood, of the potential, passing of anyone who does what you do, it's nature. Like it's things you're not supposed to fuck with. Like mountain lions, diba? You're not gonna go out and kill the mountain lions or if there's an avalanche or if there's an earthquake or how do you mentally prepare yourself for it's like going into war, parang quote unquote war na you're gonna go and you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know if you're gonna get out alive. How do you mentally prepare for those?
Well, usually it takes a lot of preparation. Really, like it takes before we even ride the plane going to that place. It takes days, months of meetings with the team, or like research with
Mm-hmm.
yourself, like the maps, preparing your GPS, preparing all your food, all your first aid kits, all those kinds of necessary things before you even head out on the expedition. But usually, that thought of like meeting death only comes after, like after you finish the expedition,
Okay.
and you
Na parang,
realize
oh,
like, holy shit, I could have
I could
actually
have, could
died
have
in that
died.
place. Yeah,
Yes,
and I think that's a
yes.
good thing. But a lot preparation really helps a lot.
Okay. So it's kind of like I would describe it kasi for a normal person who doesn't sorry, di man normal. I'm not saying you're not normal, but for people who don't get to go on those type of adventures, tibang if I drive in Manila, there's a chance of death. Like the
Yeah,
statistics are when you ride a car, when you drive a car, there's always that tiny chance of death. But I don't start the car naman always thinking parang this might be it. This might be my last ride. So with your
yeah,
adventures naman, you don't have that parang you don't need to parang accept na there's a chance that this is it. Wala namang ganon.
yeah. There's you just have to be prepared. I
Yeah.
think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Getting out of your comfort zones into these places,
Mm-hmm.
it takes preparation so that all the risks involved. It's all calculated.
Do you have any like what was like the closest you've gone na parang pinakadelikado or like the near life what do you call that? How's that term? Near life near death experience. Is that the term? Near death experience.
Yeah, near that experience.
Near that
Near that.
is there one that stands out as the closest you've gone?
I think the closest one was when I was traveling alone for 6 weeks in Argentina and Chile. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Patagonia. So I don't know if you know the brand.
I know the
That's
brand
actually
lang.
yeah,
That's
that
it.
brand where that play with that brand is where it's based from. So that mountain
The
landscape.
mountains and the logo, you've been
Yeah,
there. My
yeah, that
goodness.
that Patagonia. So
Uh-huh.
it's close to Antarctica. It's in near the southernmost it's the southernmost region in the planet, one of the southernmost region in our planet. And there were a lot of instances when I thought I was gonna die because I was hiking there for like 6 weeks. There were times, there was one time when I was walking at night, and I was hiking at night because I needed to take this photo of this mountain with the stars and everything.
Uh-huh.
And when I finished and I was going back down the peak, suddenly like there was movements coming out, and it was like that. Those kind of movies where suddenly like white
Shit.
eyes appear out of the
Was it
bush.
pitch black? Like, do you not see
Yeah,
anything? Or parang
it's
may
really pitch
moonlight
black.
naman? Pitch.
There's no
Oof.
moonlight at all because it was really pitch black. But I had a
Okay.
headlamp, so that helps a lot. But I mean,
Does it? Does it? I sometimes I just don't want to see it na lang eh. Sorry, go on.
yeah. Then suddenly there was like white eyes that came out of nowhere, and I thought, shit, that might be the mountain lion. And good thing it wasn't
Gago.
naman. It was
What was
like
it?
this huge deer. It was actually a rare deer called the huemul deer, and it's actually more rare than the mountain lion. I thought I was gonna die because if it was the mountain lion, I would have been mauled to death
Uh-huh.
or
Wait, is
um
that a real thing? Like it's not the same way because like humans are so afraid of sharks, but it's not like sharks are always out to eat humans naman. Is it the same with
Yeah,
mountain lions? Like if they see you in the mountain, it's like fuck out of my territory. Ganun ba talaga sila?
depends because sometimes they have cubs. When they have cubs, they're more
Protective.
territorial, yeah,
Ooh.
protective. So you gotta be wary about that. But that wasn't really like a near death experience in a way.
Uh-huh.
But I think the most near death experience also was this time um, we were doing this shoot for Agusan,
Uh-huh.
and it was more of like death threats in a way. Like I was receiving some kind of death threats from one of these one of the people working in one of the like the biggest palm oil plantation in the Philippines, and because I documented how palm oil
Oh.
plantations affect, destroys a lot
Yeah.
of the forests or the wetlands that we have here in Mindanao, and there's a big conflict happening there, and people don't realize, like, I was more afraid of my life because suddenly I was receiving death threats like,
Yeah.
um, hey, you're spreading fake news. Even I was there documenting the place and sharing my
Yeah.
photos and publishing the photos, and like if I ever go back there, I could have get killed. And that's one reality as well, because like the Philippines is also like the deadliest country for environmentalists, so people working on the field. And I was working with people there from like DNR and
Uh-huh.
the
Legit na.
bio.
This is as legit as you can get, in other words.
Yeah, and I really had to stay low key for like a whole year, I think, after
Huh?
receiving those
Wait, sorry,
messages.
what year was this?
2019, I think
Sorry, is it
2019.
safe to talk about this right now? I mean, is it like
It's okay. It's okay, naman. It's
okay
okay.
na?
I mean,
I don't want to
as much
include
as
this in the episode if like I mean I don't think naman I have a lot of agusan, di ba? Palm oil fans or like
yeah,
listeners, but if this reaches them, I do not want to help them whatsoever in connecting to you or something like that.
no,
It's okay na, safe na.
yeah, it's safe, naman. But I realized also that we need to voice these things out. These,
All the more.
like, all the more, because it's not just my life that's in danger. It's also like the people that I worked with in Agusan who's living there. Also, the people
Yeah.
and DNR there, they even messaged me, the DNR even messaged me to say na parang, okay, Gab, medyo low-key na lang muna tayo with the project because, yeah, it's reaching some politicians, it's
Yeah.
reaching some um, governors, so it really depends.
Sorry, so what happened to this project?
I mean, we did publish it only this year after, staying a little bit
Uh-huh.
low-key. We published it in National Geographic for World Wetlands Day, and we, of course, like for the story, we don't want to harm anyone, so
Yeah.
we didn't say anything like, all this is the company.
Okay. You just talked about the issue and you just like showed the pictures and told the
Yeah, we
story
really
without
showed the
really
story,
attacking.
and we wanted
Damn.
to be more proactive with the project, like working with collaborators, working with
Yeah.
other organizations. Instead
Okay.
of it just being like, okay, this is the bad guys.
Instead of just
Um,
calling out.
yeah, instead of just calling out, hey, there's these problems that Agusan is feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Here are some organizations that could help, and we partnered with a lot of organizations
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good.
that could help the
Shit.
community.
Because that's terrifying. How did you deal with it though? I mean, um, I just want to be able to like get the clearer picture of this. This is the first time I've gotten to talk to someone who got death threats this way. How did they send you the death threats?
I got it. I also actually on Instagram
As in
message
DM?
request. Yeah, like DMs, and
Ooh.
then
Okay.
I got a text also. So
Current
parang
na
holy
sila.
shit, they
Uh-huh.
really
Oh,
got
they
my
got your
contact. They
number.
got my number, and that's when I started coordinating with my colleagues about it. Like, okay, we really have to stay low.
Did you tell your parents about this?
Yeah, I did. I did. I was like, okay, if I ever go back in to Agusan and something
Uh-huh.
happens, I think you might know
What
the
was the
victim.
reaction?
They really got mad at me. Like, stop going there, stop doing your
Yeah.
work. It's like, it's your life, and then it's real naman na parang you can't do, or you can't protect nature if you're dead, right? Like, you really
Yeah.
have to play the cards right as well.
Yeah, but there's a balance there. I mean, the fact that you were getting those death threats just show that you were talking about. I mean, I believe that it shows that you were talking about something real, and there are other lives that are being affected by. If you didn't talk about this at all, if no one talked about those issues, then more lives would be affected, more lives would be harmed. How do you find the balance in like going out there looking for the truth and spreading it to the public, but at the same time you have that concern for yourself? I only thought, like, coming into this call, I just thought that your worries would be like nature, diba? Mountain lions and stuff. I totally forgot about the most dangerous thing, which I would say I think is other
Humans.
humans, diba? Like, how do
Yeah.
you deal with that? I that kind of, because my job, I just talk to people. I haven't gotten. I hope no one's ever gonna give me death threats for like a joke I made. But how do you deal with that? That this is your job, this is your passion, your career, but there is that reality that there are people who aren't gonna agree with you.
Really, I ignore them at most times. But if it's really it comes to a point that it's like, okay, they're threatening even my family or something like that. That's when I really get to
Uh-huh.
really kind of, rethink my choices, or like what should I do with this project, or how should I move on. Because like also when I write, for example, for like the newspaper, um, about like issues like about the dolomite issues for in
Mm-hmm.
the Manila Bay, something more relatable, or something more close to us. It's I also get threats from that. Like I would get emails because my email is published on the Manila
Yeah.
Times, and to get connected with the columnists, they would send emails about like these. And I realized like that most of these people are trolls in a way.
Yeah.
So it's not something that I should really be concerned with. But you know, fight the good fight. That's
But
what I keep thinking about.
yeah, it still could mess up with you, eh. Even if it's someone who has no capabilities of harming you whatsoever. Like that enters your head, eh. And it sort of affects your life, eh. But is it something, how do so you say that you don't really mind it, but um just the same way how people can get bashed online, like, yeah, don't mind it, but there is always gonna be some effect to an extent. Do you take it as something as, parang what doesn't kill you make you stronger? Is it something that parang it just you feel like you're tougher now na I face these death threats na, diba? Or
No,
is it like, fuck, I don't want any more death threats?
yeah, I do get those thoughts as well. Na parang shit, I should really stop doing this, or I should really stop writing about these issues.
Uh-huh.
But all the more I realize how important it is, because there's a lot of people who still think otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Like, who else is going to voice out these problems? Who else is going to voice out these issues if nobody's willing to tell them? Like like for example, the photo that we took that went on the Mugusan Marsh, the fires. Like people were saying some of these trolls, some of these people who were sending these threats were like saying fake, 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 fake news. Send mo nakuha yung photo na yan. But I was there, literally
Yung
there,
kuha,
documenting it
gago.
in real. Yeah, and nobody's taking photos of these fires that's happening in
Yeah.
our backyard, right? So like all the more that we should tell these stories so that people could be
Mhm.
more aware about it.
I want to go deeper into the Philippines context, but before that, you already mentioned your 6 week solitary expedition to Patagonia, aka the brand, the mountains brand. Can you tell me, like, I don't know how you can summarize that. How was that experience like? Like, where did you go specifically? What did you have to do, and why did you say yes to going alone? Did you wanna go alone?
Yeah. So it was actually, the prize for the Wet Global Youth
Yeah.
Wetlands Photo
Okay.
Competition, and they said, okay, here's a list of the most important wetlands in the world, and they gave me like a list from Madagascar,
Uh
all
huh.
the countries that you can think of, and I chose the farthest place from the Philippines, and I really love like glacial mountains, and it's something that I
You
really
you went
wanted to
because
see.
it's the farthest. You
Yeah, it's
chose
just
that
also the point,
specific
like,
place.
okay, they're gonna pay for the airplane tickets,
Ah,
might as
yeah.
well find the farthest
Sulit.
place.
Sulit.
Yeah,
Okay.
if I would just go to Japan or like Singapore,
Oo.
it would kind of be a waste. And they
Malapit
wanted
lang
me to
eh.
do a story. Yeah, so the story was about climate change, and the stories was
Okay.
like I was documenting glaciers that are melting and
Melting, yeah.
receding in Patagonia.
How what next? Like, okay, we know that the glaciers are melting, the ice is melting. But I also know that it's a natural process. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You have way more experience and credibility in this. That it's natural for the ice to melt. But right now, what's happening is it's at a very it's an alarming rate. Like, it's really melting really quickly.
Yeah,
What next? Like, it's great that you're telling the story, diba? But then, yeah, now that we know the information, diba? What should we do next?
yeah. So that's what I'm doing with my youth network, international youth network, with
Uh-huh.
youth engaged in wetlands. So that's how I kind of try to pivot in a way that these stories shouldn't just remain as some public awareness or
Yeah.
like raising awareness, but more of legal action. So I work with this international team, drafting resolutions. So like, for example, for youth, for legal policy making, it's more bit more technical in a way,
Yeah.
and it's more engaged in mobilization of other sectors of society.
Okay.
And
This is where the
that's
civil
how
engineer in you comes in, no? Or
that's also a part of it, like the science,
okay.
the science, because you really need to have a background in the sciences as well
Yeah.
if you want to make a resolution. For example, there's this thing called the conference of the parties,
Mm-hmm.
or like where all the
That
governmental
sounds fun, by the way.
agencies.
A conference of the parties opens at 9 p.m.
But
Free
it's
flowing drinks.
hopefully it's that way. But I mean,
Oh.
no, it's really like this forum or like this meeting where
Uh-huh.
all the, the like the leaders of DNR would go to from
Mm-hmm.
all the other countries around the world, with like UN, United Nations, Worldwide Fund for Nature, all the
Yeah.
global um, leaders, and that's where you can really demand change, like creating policies, creating
Yeah.
frameworks, so that they should implement these legal laws or binding agreements to, for example, to the local level. So
Yeah.
like for example of the glaciers, like melting glaciers, right? And what's driving these are, the effects of climate change. So for example, like carbon emissions, increase of carbon emissions from fossil fuel production, from fossil fuels, from these carbon major groups. And
Okay.
that's where we can drive action in a way, okay, say, hey, these wetlands can actually offset, protecting wetlands can actually offset these carbon emissions. And how can we, protect more wetlands or create, um, urban wetlands, so that these emissions that are driving the impacts of climate change can actually be solved. And so that's how like natural climate solutions are.
Oh, so it's not this what you're saying. The solution isn't we have to shut down the factories and the big companies that you know how the when you think of pollution, you think of the factories that's like just puffing out dark smoke 24/7.
Yeah.
It's not taking them down. It's there's actually another step,
No,
other
that's that.
way.
No, it's not mutually exclusive. It's like these are different steps that you can take.
Uh
Also,
huh.
yes, of course, taking them down is one of the most important things.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
it's
like
not
there,
like we can just blow them up and then there's
yeah,
no more, diba?
it's
Uh-huh.
we have to be a bit more realistic also. So
Yeah.
that's how what our network is also doing in a way.
Okay.
So instead of just, raising awareness, educating others about it, we're also, demanding from global leaders,
Yeah.
creating these resolutions, these policies, these petitions, to drive these different actions. And these actions are like, one, protecting wetlands, conserving wetlands to offset the carbon emissions.
Yeah.
Another could also be like, demanding Shell or other companies there that's working for carbon emissions to stop. So it
Uh-huh.
really, there's a lot. That's a thing, right? You said a while ago, like nature's a lot of things, a lot of
Uh-huh.
facets. Like you can go wildlife, you can go mountains, ocean, forest, but most of the work that we really do is focused on wetlands, and
Mhm.
that's how I can actually relate it to the work that I did for the glaciers.
Gets. And it's all connected naman nature. The main reason why the environment is doing it's not that well now, diba? Not even not that well. It's really bad now. It's because of humans and the human actions. But it's not just turning off your aircon, turning off your lights, not just diba, Earth Hour. Let's turn off the lights for now. We
Yeah,
have to plant more trees. Right? It's structural. Eh. So the way to attack those is structurally also. So new
yeah,
policies, new legislation and rules. So to affect the way humans are living, that's ultimately going to impact what's happening to the environment, right?
yeah. So you got to be part of that system as well. Like, how can
Yeah.
you change that system with your networks, with your organization? So
Yeah.
that's really how we kind of, propel that stories. And like these stories, for example, we use it for lobbying to politicians, for
Mm-hmm.
LGUs. So like for the Agusan Marsh, that it reached the governors. It decided then to take action on it. Hey, okay, this it reached the LGU. We're gonna fund and we're gonna help more of the DNR in protecting
Uh-huh.
the Agusan Marsh, and that's where real action really happens.
Yeah. Do you have hope though? I mean, it's great that all these are happening and Yeah, we're talking about it. It's really more, I would
Yeah.
say that just based on my observation, the trend of like big companies now, it's really becoming more of a like a collective mindset that we gotta do something about this environment thing, even
Yeah.
if at times it doesn't really hit the mark. I would say like the whole paper straw, plastic straw thing. Like I would say that it isn't, diba? It isn't really like it doesn't really help that much. But I would say at least there's an effort, so that's a step now. Do you have hope? How is the hope situation for Gab Mejia? You have seen what is happening more than I have. How is your how do you feel about the future generations when it comes to environment?
Yeah, I'm still very hopeful
Uh
in a
huh.
way, but I kind of changed the sense of hope to like more critical, a critical sense or a
Uh
critical
huh.
eye of optimism. It's reality. Like these systems won't change in a snap. Like it's hard to demand sometimes global change, but that's where really community helps. Where I
Mm-hmm.
really invest in how I can find hope. Like I
Okay.
based it on more local work instead of saying like, okay, I'm not gonna save the whole world. I can't. I'm just one person.
Yeah.
But what can I change within my community? What can I change within my backyard? And that's
Yeah.
where I'm gonna be focusing on, and that's where I find hope. You
Y-
know,
you
and
find hope in the action
yeah,
of just like
definitely. There's
helping.
there's no there's no hope if there's no action. You just can't dream like, hey, okay, we're gonna be sustainable. We're gonna be a sustainable world.
Yeah.
But if you don't have steps, you don't have a direction, you don't have the
Wala rin.
connections to work with. It's really gonna be futile.
Have you ever thought of the possibility? Sorry, I mean we're talking about hope, but I just wanna devil's advocate quickly lang. Quickly lang.
Yeah, no
Have
worries.
you thought of the possibility that all your efforts aren't gonna it's ultimately wala mangyayari. Like all the policies weren't followed or they weren't actually, implemented. The wetlands do die. Lots of species continue to be endangered and extinct. Like, have you thought of that possibility that that's gonna happen? And entirely, that means na your work has it kind of I don't want to, man. It sounds like I don't want to sounding like an asshole here, but then I just want to challenge you with this thought. That have you thought of it? That what if it was all a failure lang pala? What if you failed? What
Yeah,
if we
a
failed?
hundred percent, 100%. I always think about that,
Uh huh.
and that that's the point of the work that we do. I don't really see any light in this whole dark tunnel
Mm-hmm.
on climate change. We're
Wait,
working
sorry.
for
Did you say
some.
you don't see a light?
It's like working for the environment or for
Uh
nature.
huh.
Sometimes really, there's no. You're working for a future. You're not
Yeah.
working for the present. So most of the times you're really not going to see the work that you're doing
Okay.
now, and it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you should realize. Like working in this field, like I'm not gonna see. Maybe I'm, but not. I may not see like these animals getting saved. I
Yeah.
guess for the next 10 years, but the thought of me doing something about it is where I really
Yeah.
kind of have that mindset more, focus more,
Yeah.
because
You,
it's
you
in reality, yeah. We're all, like being a cynic. I'm also sometimes a cynic. Like we're all gonna die, so what's the
yeah.
point, right? But
Yeah
we're
nga.
doing it because we love it. We're
Pero
doing
love
it because
mo. Okay.
we're
Gets.
passionate about these things, and that like not being able to do something about it makes me feel less fulfilled or less fulfilled with the work that I do.
Okay.
Then why am I gonna stop?
I think that's a very important thing to consider and keep to mind because you're working for the future. You're working for an idea of a possibility, potential. Like you don't even know if it's gonna happen. But to sustain yourself, it has to be something that you love doing. And you find fulfillment in knowing that you're doing something. Na even if there's a chance that wala rin, diba?
Yeah,
Like the world's gonna explode or something. Parang there is you find peace in knowing that in your limited life, your finite resources and everything, may nagawa ka.
yeah. That's the same thing. Like even with climbing a mountain, right? Like why
Mhm.
would you climb a mountain if you're just gonna go back down, right? Right? Like why
Okay.
would you go climb to the summit of a mountain if you're just gonna go back down? And it's
You
it's the same thing with the work that we do, right? Like the whole experience, the whole journey. What changes are you gonna bring to that place is
Mhm.
what matters more for me.
Now I want to ask about your connectivity with nature. I've accepted it's a part of my life. I need to go to the beach every now and then. That's where I really feel most connected to nature, and just like seeing the vastness of everything and having that feeling of being one with the earth and the existence. You wrote about this in one of your art. I think it was one of your articles about how nature communicates to us. Like it's just in ways that obviously not in English or Filipino, like not ways that we
Yeah.
can really see. But do you remember the first moment when you were like, kinausap ako ni Mother Nature?
When I was 13, I hiked
Huh?
this mountain called Mount Kinabalu. It's the tallest mountain in Malaysia,
Wait,
and
that was the first mountain you hiked? Like you didn't even have a
the
warm up
major
hike?
first major
Ah,
major
first
mountain,
major. Okay, okay.
first major mountain, and I didn't get to finish the summit. Like I was, I
Oh,
think, 3,500 meters. The oxygen level was getting low, so it
uh-uh.
was getting harder and harder for me to breathe and all that stuff. Altitude sickness, and I was 13 at that time. I was just walking on the trail. Like it was so foggy, it was so misty, and I was all alone. But I didn't feel quite alone. Like
Ooh,
it was even
that's deep.
pouring. Yeah, and it
Wait, you were by
was
yourself? You weren't with. You were 13 years old. You were by yourself.
no, I was with my dad. My dad was hiking, and when you're hiking, you're not in one group. Sometimes,
Oh,
like you get lost in you're like in the middle of the trail, or you're like kind of
okay.
ahead of them.
Yes,
So
but they're
there's
kind. You know that there are some people like
yeah, there are people on the
if you
trail.
just
You know
fall,
you're
okay, you're kind of safe.
yeah. It felt
Okay, okay.
that way. So I wasn't like really alone, but I was like
Yeah, yeah.
I just felt so much energy and so much thinking like
Sheesh.
I need to see so much more of this world. Like, and it was foggy that time. I could still vividly remember it even today. And like I told myself, okay, this moment really kind of changed my life. I was one with this fountain,
Yeah.
and I felt like there was just something much more to see and something much more to discover about the
Uh-huh.
world. And that's when I
Okay,
decided, okay, when I turn 18, go to college or whatever, I
this is what
should,
you're gonna do.
you know, this is what I wanted to
Wow.
do.
13 years old. First year, that's first year high school age, And you just knew
Yeah.
now what you were. Well, what you know what? It's not a knock on anyone else. I'm not saying that parang anybody's who's listening to this now, if you don't know what you want to do at 18, doesn't take away anything. It's just I feel like I guess you're just lucky that more of your time you didn't spend the lost, diba? Na parang, oh my gosh, what's my purpose in life? Ganon. Have you seen the movie Soul?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
animated.
The Pixar movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about like being in the state of flow, and how I experienced that is back when I was still really like competitively doing competitive dancing and then now hosting. Like, there are those moments where I feel like I'm watching myself performing, and that's when I know like, okay, shit, like I think I should be doing something like this. Do you when do you feel that state of flow when it comes to that nature? Like that's a beautiful story when you just felt like 13-year-old Gab just being one with nature, one with the mountain. Can you describe what that feeling of flow is like when you're in nature?
I, personally, it really feels like I'm insignificant in a
Uh-huh.
way. Like I feel like who am I? Like it really questions like a lot of questions going into my head. Like what am I doing? Who am I? What do I want to be? Or like all these philosophical thoughts
Mm-hmm.
going on in my mind. And that's when I really feel like I'm in that kind of flow.
Yeah.
um, it's because I'm starting to really go into internally, really understanding who I am and what I can do, what I'm supposed to be doing.
Uh-huh.
And I guess now not a lot of people get to experience that because we're so distracted with a lot of
Yeah.
things, and it's that kind of sense of flowing, right? Like that I really feel when I'm also in nature. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's you just really have all these questions.
Did you ever it sounds like a movie, but then has it ever told you anything? Like has nature ever did you ever feel like na parang, like, told me to do this thing or I have to go to this place? Or is it really just more of like a mind? Is it more of just like an emotion? The when you're most parang in the zone with mother nature moments.
Yeah, I guess it really fills my intuition more.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't know, I become more intuitive when I'm really with nature or
Okay.
surrounded with nature. Like
Gets.
I should be doing this, or like I feel like I should be doing this, and it's not really just emotions.
Yeah.
A part of it really is just intuition, I guess.
Yeah. It's not a voice. It's not a loud voice telling you, Gab,
Yeah.
take pictures of Shrek. Di naman ganun.
Yeah.
Does that, ano, your experience with the nature and just seeing creation and everything sorry, are you Catholic?
Yeah, I was born a Catholic, but
Huh.
I don't really practice as much.
Is your experience with nature like connected to that? Like I wanted to ask, like, how has it affected your belief in faith, diba, in religion, and because that one of the main things about that is afterlife, diba, and
Yeah.
existence and everything. Like, how has what is your stand on faith, your faith and everything?
What made me, I think, based on faith, really, I just kind of learned more about nature in a way that it taught me that to accept everyone as what they believe in, and
Uh huh.
that's kind of my that kind of sense of belief that I also have with faith. Like if I'm Christian, I don't care what religion you're practicing, or
Yeah.
we're all diverse in this world just as much as like how there are different plants, different trees, and all that kind of stuff. I just respect you for whatever religion you are. It's same thing as respect any tree as I should respect any other tree, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like spirituality you're talking about, more like the personal kind of faith, um, it's quite. I'm not really traditional Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't kind of have that sense of, I do appreciate the writings of the Bible. I do appreciate Jesus and all that stuff, but it's not something that I really hold close to.
Yeah.
It's kind of more. I don't know. It's quite kind of complicated
Yeah,
relationship
of
with
course it's so. Yeah,
faith.
I don't think there's such a thing as a simple relationship when it comes to that.
Yeah,
So, is it? I hope it's okay to ask. Like, what do you believe in?
like like if I do believe in like a higher being or a god.
Yeah, like yeah.
Like I do believe in a god.
Uh
I
huh.
do believe
That
that
we were
there's something.
created and everything.
Not really in a sense.
Uh
Like
huh. Are you more of
it's
the? Do you think it's
very.
an evolution? Do you think we're more of like an evolution, like byproduct?
Yeah, I'm leaning more on the sciences also, and like believing with the
Okay.
Darwinism. You can merge these things, you can integrate
Yeah.
these things, and that's what I kind of feel like a lot of people are more purists in a way, that they
Uh huh.
tend to say, but 100% sure, like evolution is real. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if there are Catholics out there really. There are people who deny the
Yeah.
reality or the facts of evolution
Uh huh.
because they think of the Bible. But you can also merge it. I mean, you could believe 100% that it's true, and believe that God made everything. It really
Yeah.
depends on you. And for me, it's just a mix. I do pray for God sometimes. Like there are times when I feel really grateful that I'm in
Uh
the
huh.
presence of
Do you do the sign of the
something
cross?
bigger. Not so much in a way.
Like when
Like
you pray, I don't know. Or sorry, can we go back to the moment where you thought you saw a
I
mountain lion? Like, was there?
yeah.
Who did you talk to in your head?
No, it was just in my mind. Like holy shit. I'm panicking. I shouldn't panic. I should just,
Ah,
you
okay.
know.
You didn't
So it's
like
really
call a
more.
higher being na parang,
Yeah,
Gago, sana hindi siya
I'm gonna
mountain
die.
lion.
Yeah,
Wala, wala.
something.
Okay.
I don't really get that kind of moments. Also, I'm not sure
Okay.
actually. I'm starting to think a lot about it now, because it made
Yeah.
me think. Because it really, there's so many diverging paths, or like
Yeah.
diverse ways you can think about your purpose in life, your God, your spirituality,
Yeah.
and it's great that it's a mix of it, and that's how I'm seeing mine also. It's really a mix of
Yeah.
my upbringing as a Catholic. I was like an Ateneo, right? We're born, we were raised
Mm-hmm.
as
Yeah.
these Christians. You even have to wear like gala uniforms, or
Yeah.
I remember like
Oh,
for like
fuck
Friday
that.
mass.
Fuck the black socks. Did you get I got in trouble a lot of
Yeah,
times
you
because I
get you
wore
get a
white
sanction.
socks because
Yeah,
of black socks.
exactly. So it
Ay
really
nako.
depends on your upbringing, I guess. Also, I
Yeah.
always just say like, okay, this world, it's just 50%. It's a confluence of chance and choice, and that's
Uh-huh.
how I see my spirituality as well. That
Okay.
the opportunities that I get, I'm grateful for it, and like if I'm praying for something, or like it's more about how I could act.
Yeah.
What can I do in my present life
In,
to
in that
achieve those things?
in that confluence of chance and choice, do you believe in a predetermined fate?
What do you like, you being
That
born as a
yeah, like you're
Christian?
born and you're meant to do like now. I think it's pretty clear you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like if there's a reason, if there's one of those bullet points, if we're gonna summarize Gab Mejia's life, this is one of the main bullet points. Diba? Conservation photographer. Do you think that it was something that you were just destined to do ever since, or it was your choice talaga, like 100%, or is it a mix? Like, how do you look at this whole making your own destiny and also like there being a predetermined destiny for you?
Yeah, that's the thing with the chance and choice. Like for example, and it interplays in a way. Like the choices you make changes the chances that you get in life, and
Oh,
also the chances that you have. For
okay.
example, like being born like as a Filipino, and what you can be about it. Like for example, like being born with privilege, right? You get more opportunities,
Yeah.
and it's what you make out of it. You know, I think I don't know if you've watched that Pokemon movie, that first ever Pokemon movie
Oh yeah,
with
yeah.
Mewtwo.
When Pikachu like died, that
Yeah, turned
was
to stone.
uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, that, and like Mewtwo had that very, I don't know,
Ooh,
quote
what
or
did he
something
say?
like
What did
that.
he say? I forgot.
I forgot, but it was like more of, it's just, depends on the choices that you make, that makes out of
Uh-huh.
your life.
Let me Google this
And
Mewtwo Pokemon movie quote just so that we get this clear.
yeah,
Mewtwo
I see
Pokemon.
now that the
Okay.
circumstances of one's births are relevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are as well. And
Ooh,
it
galing ni Mewtwo ah.
and that there's a lot of, authors also that explains this kind of philosophy of how it's one of my favorite philosophers also is like Osho, and he
Osho?
explains
How do you spell this
Osho,
Osho?
Osho. He's an Indian philosopher,
You
and
didn't take this up in college, in school, no?
yeah, we didn't,
Osho.
and it really takes he really sums it up in a way,
Uh-huh.
that life is really an interplay, and there's really no such thing as a predetermined life. It's like you're just
Yeah.
given with this life, and with this life, what you can do about it, and what you do about it, it changes your life as well. So it's
Yeah.
like it's really just an interplay of those.
Yeah. And this is such a can I just want to say this is such a beautiful like thought provoking dilemma because I also gotten the chance to guest someone who was I've gotten to guest a priest. I've also gotten to guest someone who's a really devout Christian who believes that everything is predetermined. And
Mm,
I'm here witnessing that okay, there's a chance nga that everything was predetermined and we just made the choices, but eventually we were really gonna do those things. Or we have your mindset, which is it's a mix. Like the choices you make also affect the chance. But at the end of the day, we're not gonna know it. Like it's all just
yeah,
like our interpretation of like what it could possibly be. So I feel like that's how I just sharing it. That's how I parang have peace with it. Because it's some it would keep me up at night sometimes and parang why am I alive? Like what's gonna happen?
yeah,
All that shit. Pero parang gago, I'm not gonna know then. So just fucking chillax na lang. Kasi wala rin kayong
yeah,
magagawa um about that whole issue. My goodness.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, were you gonna add something?
Yeah, yeah. It's I think there's like I forgot there's a real term for it. It's also like similar to how the stock market works, right? Like
You don't
if
know, yeah.
everybody knew if everybody knew where people are going to put their stocks, and then it's going to change the whole system, right? Or like change
Yun.
the money, and it
Wow.
really affects each. So you really don't know, but whatever you put into it affects also the chances that you and the choices that you make.
Yeah. Wow. My family's gonna love that. What you just said. My family's just finance. We are the finance family, there, guys. So just just an analogy, yeah, makes total sense. Um, Now I just wanna quickly lang talk about the future. This future that you are working towards. There has been this. It is not scientifically proven. This is just based on the people I've talked to. It's becoming more of a norm, an option for people not to want to have kids. Because well, one, it's way more expensive to have more kids now compared to our parents' generation. The world that we're gonna bring them into, the like it's
Yeah,
becoming less and less practical. As someone who's working for the future, First, can I ask, like, you personally, do you see yourself as someone? Is that one of your goals, having kids in the future?
Not really. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't really thought about it in having kids, and I don't think I want yeah, you to bring a child to this world where you have
Yeah.
knowing how difficult life is.
Okay.
And
So if you would have to
and
lean towards one, you'd be more of no.
yeah, nah, I don't think I would have kids.
I'm trying to understand this here because I understand that, but I'm still in the yeah, I want to have kids, but I think it's more selfish. Like that's how I was brought up, that to have the to live the life correctly, diba, you gotta study hard, get a good
Yeah,
job, earn
yeah,
money, help people around you, get married, have kids, diba, let the cycle continue. You're someone who really works for the future. You're working for the future generations. How come you don't want to have a future, diba? Future Gabs. Future Gabs, but like
well,
your generation to be continued and stuff.
because I really don't have want to have these expectations for of a person, right? Like
Okay.
creating this new person and having all these expectations that this is the future that I want this person to see, or like this is the future that I'm working on, and this child of mine should see it, and like knowing also the state of the world, or like knowing how, if my life today is as bad as it is
It is.
sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, like as bad as it is, like having to deal with all these problems, why am I
Mm-hmm.
going to add another person um to this picture? Like why am I going to add this person to experience the same injustices or atrocities we're facing? Like, for
Yeah.
example, like this Filipino, why would you, as a Filipino, like especially in this pandemic, right, we see how fucked up
Yeah.
um the everything is, and like how our government is, how people are managing the pandemic, and like it kind of goes against my moral ethics as well. Like if I myself haven't experienced that kind of life where the quality of life is good or quality
Yeah.
of life is great, why am I going to bore someone in this world who would also
That makes
experience
sense.
this and could experience something worse? It really, I don't know, maybe if I get to move out, or if I move out maybe in another better country, maybe like living in a country where the quality of life, the government is great, maybe it's I get to lean more on having kids. So it really depends on the
Yeah.
situation that I'm in. But as of now, as of this moment, I'm not.
Okay. That makes sense. That I have nothing to say. I mean, I have someone who wants to have kids in the future. I have nothing to be like, nah, I'm not gonna try to pull you to the side and be like, no, kids are cute. Kasi hassle din.
Yeah,
I just got a dog
yeah,
recently and that's just a dog, ha? Hassle talaga. Kahit love ko yung aso
yeah,
ko. Hassle talaga. Since we're talking about the future, I want to bring it to a more, probably like a relatable context, something more concrete. Kasi you and I studied in Ateneo, we were classmates, but we have totally different understandings of like nature and how we can help. And it's something that I strongly believe in. It's something that we should make one of our top priorities, helping nature. It is kind of selfish for me because when someone told me na parang baka mawala yung mga beaches in the Philippines in the next few decades, like kung wala ng Boracay or something, like, gago, is there something that I can do?
yeah,
Even if it's not for the kids, like when I'm 70, hope I reach 70, 80 years old, I still want to go there. Whether or not I have kids, like I want to
yeah.
experience the beauty that is the beaches of the Philippines. What can we do besides turning off the lights, diba? Turning off the faucet and stuff? Like are there any concrete things that people like me, 'di ba? We live in the city. We do want to help, but we don't know. Like I have I have a stainless straw, but 'di ba? It's not like that's gonna do much.
Yeah.
But can you please educate me? What else can someone like me do?
Yeah, one way is to actually get involved or take that initiative to volunteer or help with environmental organizations, because
Uh-huh.
there's already so many environmental organizations in Manila or even around the Philippines that's working to protect these beaches that you love, that's working to save the turtles, or there's a lot of environmental issues. So I think taking that step on where you want to, or what you want to actually protect,
Mm-hmm.
also helps in a way, like you knowing that the beaches are maybe your top
I probably
priority.
want to go there. Yeah, I probably more than
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, nothing against the wetlands, but I haven't been to one, so I don't have an emotional connection to them yet.
yeah, exactly. So why don't you take that step and initiative also to work, for
Uh-huh.
example, for Oceania, or like ISDA? I think there's an organization in Ateneo
Yeah,
that's working on marine conservation.
yeah. Or
So
or do something like with Jericho Rosales. I got to go to La Union once and I saw Jericho Rosales. I forgot what he was there for, but it was some environmental thing in the beach. But the whole time kasi in my mind, like, holy shit, it's Echo. But then I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, there are a lot of ways then to help. Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, when I was in La Union, we were working with the turtles, the
With
Project
Jericho?
Kurma. Yeah, Jericho was
Of
there
course.
also.
Of course you're with Echo. Okay. You've met Ding
And
Dong Dantes na rin in a GMA. I
yeah,
saw this
yeah, the
this
GMA
episode.
TV.
Yeah.
It's really funny, but and there's like so many avenues where you can help, and I think that taking that initiative to really go beyond and take that step,
Mm-hmm.
to go out of your comfort zone. I mean, maybe I have time to volunteer. Why don't I do it? I'm going to La Union. Hey, maybe I can help in Project Kurma and help in the turtles, right? Or like,
There you
there's also
go.
a lot of movements happening around Manila, for example, especially maybe not in the pandemic, but there's a lot of lobbying, a lot of rallying, collective movements that is working.
Yeah.
You just really have to take that initiative, because the information is already there. Twitter,
Yes.
all these social medias, and I think it's
Gabmejia.com also. There's a lot of there's
yeah,
stories in there and beautiful pictures.
yeah, and it's like being ignorant today, or like willfully choosing to be ignorant, is kind of I think a wrong, or
Yeah.
not maybe wrong. It's
It
really
is
not
wrong.
the way to go. Yeah,
It's not anymore like, kung trip mo, tara, like let's help it. It's really it's a responsibility. And this is a call out to everyone who's listening that it's not it's not like if you feel like it, go out and help. Like it's something you're supposed to do. And even if you're
yeah,
not doing anything wrong, like I'm not purposefully diba, wasting gas, leaving the lights on. Like the inaction is actually something is I would consider that that's already something wrong. You're already doing something wrong if you're not doing something. That did that make sense? I hope that
yeah.
made
It
sense.
kind of carries sense, but I mean, it's not like we're forcing, because there's also a lot of people who kind of gatekeep, or in a way, push or shove these environmentalism. For example, like there's a lot of contention with, like, for example, veganism, where people would,
Ooh, that's a
yeah,
whole
like,
nother
yeah,
episode.
people will get mad if you eat meat, or people would call you out if you use a plastic. But there's a lot of realities happening in the Philippines. Like, some people can't afford to buy vegan food. Some people
Yeah.
can't afford to not use single-use plastic,
Yeah, or the
because, like,
sachets. Kasi that's yeah,
yeah, the
okay.
sachet. So it really, you gotta really reevaluate where you're coming from
Oh.
also, and what you gotta do.
So there are so many ways to help the environment. Like I just thought it quickly. Like the sachet, the single-use plastic, that is also an issue of poverty. So
Yeah.
even if you're not necessarily doing what you're doing, you're not hiking mountains and stuff, you can be as helpful. You can have an environmental impact in your own way because gago, everything's connected. Like
Yeah,
everything's
that's
just
what I
so
used to say. Like,
connected.
if you can work, like, for making sure that people have livable wage, those
Yeah.
simple things. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not specific. Like, okay, I'm
Okay, there
directly
you
working
go.
on the environment, but you are actually helping the environment, because you're
Yes.
helping communities, you're helping the society. It's really
Yeah.
interconnected.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Everything's connected. You know what, Gab? Thank you so much. I feel like this is one conversation. I hope this isn't our last time to get to talk about this. But before I let you go, could you please invite everybody? I know you co-founded an organization. Could you tell us more about what it's about? How can we check it out? And for those who don't really know yet, where they wanna turn their attention to, the resources to and help, where can they do so?
Yeah, one organization is www.youthengagedinwetlands. So we have a lot of initiatives and a lot of stories where people can join, and a lot of opportunities to network with other leaders, other youth leaders also working for the same causes and same goal. And also, there's working with Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF Philippines. There's also a lot of, if you really want to read more about the issues, the local issues and the environment, there's a lot of information about there. So there's a lot of platforms also where you can learn more about the environment.
All right. Amen. All right, Gab. I know you're a very busy person, so I really want to thank you again for your time and for what you're doing. I do hope that I can. I don't know. I'm not go to Patagonia with you, but I do hope we get to do some nature experience together once, and I get to witness firsthand how it is to really experience and see nature and then through your eyes the way you do. Yes. Road trip muna. Yeah. Something realistic. Something. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I appreciate you. Thanks, brother.
Okay. Thanks, man.